Okay, so we showed what happens when you only invest a lump sum in the beginning and you don't add anything to it. Compound interest still grows the amount of money significantly, but not nearly enough as you would need to retire. Then we showed what would happen if you started early using dollar cost averaging, adding an amount every year, and it definitely helps you reach your retirement goals. And then we showed what happens if you start late, and you do not want to start late. If you start late, you're at a huge disadvantage. But now I want to show what happens if you're investing more than $1,000. But let's say you start with $1,000 at 20 years old, and then you get a job, and you can max out your Roth IRA, which the max amount of money you can put in a Roth IRA right now is $5,500 a year. So let's see what happens if you do that. All right. At 9% interest, adding $5,500 to your initial investment of $1,000 using dollar cost averaging for 40 years, you will end up with about $1.8 million, which is probably enough to retire. I would almost say definitely enough to retire. I don't know what inflation is going to be like for the next 40 years. Uh, I, I can't tell you that you're going to for sure get a 9% return, but if you do, you will definitely be set up for retirement. Now, if you start 10 years late, in 10 years when you're 33, if you started at 23, or 30 if you started at 20, you made an initial investment of $1,000, and then you started maxing out your Roth IRA every year after that, you would end up with about $760,000, which is probably not enough to retire. So again, even maxing out your Roth IRA 10 years late is not going to set you up for retirement. You have to start early. That is the most important thing when it comes to investing. Um, all right, now just for fun, or first, let's see what would happen if you got a little bit better than expected return, if you got 12%. All right, now this dramatically increases the amount of money you have. Now, if you start and you have 40 years invested maxing out your Roth at $5,500 a year, you'd end up with over $4 million, which is a significant amount of money. Uh, you would certainly be a 1%er then. Even if you start 10 years late and you do manage to get a 12% return, you'll have $1.3 million, so you'll probably be able to retire just fine. I would definitely shoot for having over $1 million. Um, but it definitely, I mean, anybody would rather have 4 million over 1.3 million. That's just common sense. Um, Now, if by some miracle you were able to save $10,000 a year, which probably not many people can do that, you can see compound interest. It just keeps adding up. Now you would have $7.7 million a year, um, versus 2 million, 2.4 if you started 10 years late. I don't expect myself or many other people to be able to save $10,000 per year, although I will definitely attempt to save a large amount of money every year like that. But the point of these videos is mostly just to show how important it is to save a specific amount of money every year, no matter what, and to start early. You can see if you start late, it just kills your return. So if you started late, saving $10,000 a year, to get to that $7.7 million, instead of getting it at 60 years old, you'd be 70. And everybody knows once you start getting 70 plus, your ability to do things in life decreases dramatically. So start saving early, save the same amount of money or add more to it every year. Just make sure you're adding money to your investments every single year. Um, and if you do that and you invest in funds that return a decent amount, like the S&P 500 index fund or the Russell 2000, you should be good to retire whenever you want to, or well, not whenever you want to, but when you're 60 or so years old.